all the info that you do not know, from the stuff outside the 5 for up to the local news is on our show.
Hey, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Ryan, and this is the 540 Show. Welcome back, everybody. This is the 67th?
67th episode.
67th episode of the 540 Show. As always, I'm with my guy Thomas.
Hey, how you guys doing? And welcome to the 540 Show.
Yep, this is another great week to talk to you guys and let you know what's going on in the area. We're going to start off the show a little different today. We have a special guest in studio, John Heyn. We're going to get to all about what he did, but what you say, you're a filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to label him a filmmaker. And when you make a film, I feel like that's what you deserve the right to be called a filmmaker.
And a very successful film at that.
Yeah.
Ryan, what's the name of that film, brother?
It is Heavy Metal Parking Lot. And well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the area and everything like that before we get started on what Heavy Metal Parking Lot actually is.
Sure thing. My name is John Heyn. I'm a recent resident of Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I live right around the corner, actually, right here. Right around the corner from the 540 Show, which is pretty neat. I was walking down the street, I saw the studios, I saw the sign, the website, and I said, I'm going to check it out. So I hit up Ryan and Thomas and clued them in on my film, and they were real interested in having me on, so I'm really thrilled to be here today.
Well, we're happy to have you. And I hope you like the area. Are you enjoying the area so far?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Fredericksburg is great.
Awesome.
Moved down here from Maryland.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Enjoying the life down here. Very much so.
Were you in Maryland for a long time?
Yeah, born and raised in Maryland. Grew up in Baltimore. Lived in Maryland for quite a while, outside of the D.C. area.
Okay.
In fact, our film takes place in suburban Maryland, Largo, Maryland, which is the home of the former Capitol Center, the former concert arena and basketball sports arena in Largo, Maryland. Landover, also known as Landover, Maryland. The place doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, they tore it down, correct?
Tore it down, yes,
okay.
They sure did.
Yeah, a lot of great shows, and I remember, I think I've been to one, my dad told me when I was real little, I went to one hockey game there. So I have been to the Cap Center.
Home of the Caps, yep.
Mm-hmm. So right. Let's get a little bit more into this film. This is something that I found very interesting. The premise is, I actually wanted to know, the first thing that I thought when I heard about this is, how did you guys get access to a camera during this time, and the microphone and the equipment during 1986?
Yeah, that was certainly a challenge and kind of a specialty, a rarity. I made this film with my filmmaking partner Jeff Krulik, also of the D.C. area, and we shot this film in 1986. And back in '86, actually it wasn't a film, it's a video. Back in '86, videotape and video and camcorder footage was not very prevalent. It was hard to get a hold of this equipment. Really, the stuff barely existed. It just got into the consumer market. If you remember VHS format.
Yeah.
But we shot it in a slightly better, more professional format called 3/4 inch videotape. And that's what all the newscasters would go around and do all the news stories on. Anyway, we worked out of a public access television facility in Prince George's County, Maryland. You guys, have you heard of public access before?
I have heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the local cable.
Yep.
Local cable municipal channels always usually have a public access station set up where members of the community can come in and learn how to make a video and produce a video and put it on local cable television. It's a great resource for people to communicate, and it's also a great way to learn how to become a filmmaker and video producer. So my partner Jeff worked at a public access video station, so we had pretty free access to this equipment.
Awesome.
And we found out a concert was going on Saturday night, early summer evening, May 31st, 1986, a Saturday night, great concert that was being promoted on the local radio station. Judas Priest was coming to town, and we thought, well, hey, let's go take our equipment out there and see what we can get in the parking lot of Heavy Metal Show. Like I said, the band was Judas Priest, really a top name act at the time, and they could fill out a concert arena real easily, and did mass international tours. Anyway, we're lucky enough to have them show up in Maryland, and we didn't know what was going to happen in the parking lot. But we thought, well, this is kind of a crazy crowd. They like to party, they like to jam, they like heavy metal, like to bang their heads and all that. So we would take our camera out there and just do man in the parking lot interviews. It was kind of like, hang out in the tailgating parties and see what it was all about.
So you guys were not going to the concert that night?
No, we weren't going to the concert.
Oh, okay.
We actually never made it into the concert. We just hung out in the parking lot, and once the sun went down and the people went into the concert hall, we kind of went home.
Yeah.
We were kind of
Well, I'm sure some people didn't make it in, judging from
Yeah,
the media.
exactly. Yeah, they couldn't even stumble out of the parking lot into the concert arena. It was pretty crazy out there. So anyway, we walked around for a couple hours and interviewed people and got some really crazy material that we put together into a short film, and then kind of released it from there.
Was it a lot of
basically.
material you guys had to cut down, or?
Not really. No. Now this, even though we call it a film, it's really just a short documentary. It's only run 17 minutes long, and so, but it's jam packed with a lot of laughs and a lot of great material in 17 minutes, and that's why it's kind of developed this following, because there's just so much great content in there. We really shot only about an hour's worth of material and cut it down to 15 minutes, 17 minutes. So it's called a shooting ratio, how much footage you shoot versus how much you put up on the screen. So our shooting ratio was 4-to-1 basically, which is a pretty low shooting ratio for most films.
Yeah.
Most films go, most of the stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, most of the footage, but we pretty much used almost everything we possibly could.
Now, were you worried at all about the content that you would get on these videos when you were on your way out there? Were you guys ever worried about, we're going to see a little bit too much?
Or the backlash almost,
Yeah, we weren't too sure what to expect, really. We, there was some crazy behavior. If you watch this video, hey, everybody, it's pretty easy to find. It's on YouTube. And it's also out there.
Well, you guys have a website too, right?
Yes, there's a website, of course, heavymetalparkinglot.com. There's a fan group on Facebook, and it's pretty easy to find on YouTube.
So search Heavy Metal Parking Lot, and it'll be one of the first that comes up, I'm sure.
Yes.
The website's actually really nice. I checked it out.
Oh, good.
It's
Thanks.
really well put together. I really enjoyed the website.
I'll give a shout out to our webmaster.
Yeah.
Webmaster Jan, who put it together for us.
Does a good job.
Yeah, she did a nice job for us. Yeah, thanks a lot.
So when did you notice this film was kind of gaining, popularity? Because I heard there was like an underground trading of the tape for a while. Yeah, so that was very interesting to me to hear.
How did that work?
Yeah, well, what happened is, like, this is before the internet. This is before it's digital files. It's easy to email, post stuff, stream stuff online, and email it around or whatever. Things had to be sent out on videotape. Really, that was the only way to distribute stuff. So there are mixtapes and party tapes that we would put together and give to people, or other people would make copies of our videos that we gave out, and then sell them or give them out. Usually give them out, just kind of, it was kind of a sharing, this is the way you got content out in those days. It was, that you just physically made copies, the dub tapes, from one to the other, and it, you hook up two VCRs, VHS VCRs, or even Betamax back in the day. Ooh. And make copies. Now, as you know, as you copy, and as you guys know, you're audio engineers, of course, you probably haven't even barely worked in the analog world, but as you make analog copies, there's some degradation to the sound source.
Right.
Every time you make a copy. In VHS, it's really pronounced. So you'd make these VHS copies, and the image would get crummier and grainier looking, all faded and warped and warbly and stuff like that. So that's how people got these things. It looked really pretty crappy, but it was still, the material held up, and people got a lot of laughs from it. And I'll show you, back in the day, people would make mixtapes or party tapes or bootleg copies. So here is a pretty good example. We didn't even put this together. This is a VHS tape, for those who aren't really that familiar with them. But
I'm sure some of our listeners have never seen a VHS. Yeah. I have, but
could be. So this is fan generated. I would say we didn't even authorize this version, but somebody did some really elaborate artwork on this.
That looks
and it
really good,
great.
yeah.
It's pretty amazing, and they distributed it and sold it out of the Pacific Northwest
Wow.
in Canada, I believe.
Wow.
Pretty wild. So this is one of the first times that we got a notion that hey, this thing's developing a fan following because, like I said, we're based here in the Mid-Atlantic, and this came out of the Pacific Northwest. Or Canada actually, and we didn't even know about it. So it's so it somehow got itself out to the West Coast, and people were selling it, distributing it, giving it out, and stuff like that. So that got us thinking. So maybe we'll like produce our own bootleg tape. So we came up with our own VHS, not quite as elaborate. It kind of looks. Wanted to kind of give it that underground look and feel to it. So
Yeah,
in
okay.
a black box, real simple label. Anyway, that's how we distributed it and sold it. Once the internet got going,
how much did one cost at the time?
Well, probably $10.
$10?
You know, I'm pretty sure I put up the first website in 1998, 20
Okay.
years ago. Started selling copies for $10, postage paid, and this is even before PayPal. So I think people had to mail me cash or checks, go to the bank, cash and all that. So pretty old school, and put them in a mailer and stuff like that, and send it out. But we sold plenty of copies like that.
So how long after this was created did you guys notice it was picking up that kind of following of like a cult following?
Yeah, well, we showed it around town. We showed it at some rock clubs and some record conventions and to friends at parties around home. This is in the D.C., Maryland area, and we got a pretty good response from it. But we didn't really have a distributor for it, or it was just kind of we didn't have any way to advertise or to sell it, so it was just word of mouth. And like I said, eventually. Somehow it got its way. Well, actually, we had a friend take a couple copies out to the West Coast, and they seemed to have gotten into people's hands that wanted to see it, and then, like I said, got dubbed, got copied, passed around. As you saw, eventually one of these dub copies ended up on the tour bus for Nirvana.
How did that feel?
Yeah, well, that was one of the key things he said. That, and this is early '90s, made us think. Well, we really got something here. It's like. I don't know. It's like, no one called us up and gave us any acknowledgement of it, but word of mouth, we found out, hey, it's on Nirvana's tour bus, and that was a real trip.
Yeah.
We were inspired, we were impressed, we were really happy. We said, what else can we do this? How can we, get people to know about this? So those are the small ways that that the thing kind of went viral in its own way back before the internet and before any kind of digital communication. It was word of mouth and tapes passed around, basically.
Did you ever get an opportunity to meet some of these bands that, like Nirvana, that had you on their tour bus? Did you ever get a chance to maybe hang out and ride around with them a little bit?
Like about 10 years ago, we hardly ever really, first I'll say no. We're like really not even minor celebrities. We're really, below the radar. So to speak, but we have had our moments of, meeting great people and stuff. Like when Dave Grohl, when the Foo Fighters came to town about 10 years ago, we somehow got in touch with the management, and we got to go back, and he found out, he knew about the film. He's a big fan of the film. He invited us backstage. We got backstage passes.
Cool.
We got to meet Dave Grohl, present him with a DVD backstage in his dressing room, hang out with him a little bit, and get some pictures taken with him. It was pretty cool. Yeah, that was
awesome.
really neat.
So what did you guys ever try to recreate this in any other ways? Capture it, but I'm sure it was tough with what you got out of the culture that heavy metal was.
Yeah, really. Well, we try. We sort of tried. We know we really couldn't top this. This is really a one of a kind video. But about 10 years after we made it, we said, well, let's try making a sequel. Well, we can't do the Return to Heavy Metal Parking Lot, so we did something like 180 degrees diametrically opposed. And the genre of music we picked, we did a film called Neil Diamond Parking Lot. Went back to the same venue, the same Capitol Center concert arena, and did a Neil Diamond show.
Different vibe,
yes. Yeah, everybody, there were some pretty heavy-duty Neil Diamond groupies there, middle-aged ladies and stuff like that. It was pretty intense,
Great
but yes, it was more of a Diet Coke crowd than the Jack Daniels crowd, basically.
Now, are you a big heavy metal fan yourself?
Yeah, get asked that question a lot. No, not particularly. I like, I got appreciation of metal. Certainly listened to my fair share of Priest, Ozzy, a little bit of Metallica, but more into roots rock and roll and blues.
Okay.
And back in the day when we made this film in the '80s, we were Jeff and I were, I'd say, more into roots rock and punk rock, new wave, those genres of music.
Yeah.
These days, more like jazz and even bluegrass.
Oh,
That's what I like living around this area for.
awesome.
Okay.
This is a great music scene, guys.
It is.
Fredericksburg's got a lot of talented musicians.
Yes.
A lot of great places to go see live music.
Yes,
And
a lot.
I try to support it.
Absolutely.
It's really,
That's
really
what we're here
amazing.
for, is to try
Yeah,
to promote
sure.
all these things. That's
Yep.
all we're really doing.
Yeah.
So once again, we have John Heyn in the studio. He was a producer for Heavy Metal Parking Lot. Please make sure you're checking that out. You can go to heavymetalparkinglot.com. It's a really great website. And thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah,
And you know what? We shared a link to your YouTube video on our Facebook page. So the people who are actually watching this now can go onto the main page, take you 2 seconds, click over there, and check out this video because, myself, you know me, I listen to a little bit of rock and roll, like the Linkin Park, Blink 182, Sum 41, that punk rockish thing. Like you said, I've got an appreciation for it as well. But, it really opened my eyes a bit to what happened in those parking lots. Because I obviously wasn't in those parking lots at that time. But that really looked like a really good time.
They were really just into what they were into.
Yeah.
It was like a
Yeah.
cult, like you said, almost like a cult following of people.
I was going to say, it's like a universal experience, really. Even to this day, it's a rock and roll universal experience of getting together, everybody getting together, enjoying, celebrating, enjoying the music, the love of the music, live music particularly, as a group. That still happens. There's still plenty of heavy metal parking lots out there going on to this day.
And this film was so impactful that you actually got a beer made in honor of your film.
Yeah, that's right. We 2 years ago, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Heavy Metal Parking Lot, and we it was honored kind of in a pretty nice way. We were invited to screen it at South by Southwest Film
Which is a big,
Festival.
that's
Yeah,
a
that's
big
a
deal.
giant-
That's
yeah,
a giant
yeah.
deal.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Everybody
man.
down there. We
Yeah.
showed it on a big screen out in front of a big crowd outdoors in Austin, Texas. And then we also had a craft beer commission.
Aaron, get in on that. Check that
By
out.
Union Craft Brewing. This is a limited edition beer. Delicious, great beer called Heavy Metal Parking Lot, the beer.
Great
This
beer
came
name.
out in 2016. Union Craft Brewing in Baltimore, Maryland, and in honor of Heavy Metal Parking Lot. And it kind of tastes like a heavy metal parking lot.
That's good.
And you kind of get the same effect,
Yeah.
too, because it's got a good...
It's a heavy beer.
It's a heavy
Yeah.
beer, good, solid alcohol content.
And we can purchase that on your website?
Well, no, this beer is limited edition. It's
Okay.
not available anymore.
Okay.
I'm going to give you guys...
You can't get
If
drunk
you guys
off
are
that.
beer drinkers, I'm going to give you guys this beer.
We
And,
definitely appreciate a nice
it's-
cold
it's a
beer.
souvenir.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm down to my last 6-pack.
Okay.
So I'm holding on to it. Maybe it'll become a collector's.
I'll tell you what, we
Yeah.
won't pop it open. We're
Yeah.
gonna place this thing up and
That's
showcase
right.
it every
Yeah.
episode.
Yep.
Well, you guys are more than welcome. It's happy hour somewhere.
That's right. That is very.
Yep. So my last question is,
Yeah.
as the generations go on, what is something you hope they always get from watching this short film?
I think, like I said, it's the just how rock and roll passes through all the generations. It's really a universal type of music that unites a lot of people. It's great to listen and experience as a group and go out and see live music. And you can really see that people back in the day, back in the heavy metal heyday of the 80s, going back to the Beatlemania of the 60s, it's really just kind of followed on. It's been followed on through the generations, the same kind of experience, adulation, and appreciation of the music. It's still going on today.
Yeah,
So pretty
history
much.
went on. Every generation
Yeah.
had its own music, and that's kind of
Like
how
you
it-
said before we got started, timeless.
Yeah.
It's a timeless film.
Yes. Yeah, it sure is. Thanks. Yeah, in some ways it's a time capsule, almost these people maybe might be your folks' age these days, but you can see how everybody partied back in the day, and it's like not too much different than it is today.
I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree
maybe so.
in many genres. Well, thank you very much again for stopping in the studio and giving us this interview. This was amazing, awesome. It was wonderful to meet you. That film was awesome. Make sure that you guys are checking out Heavy Metal Parking Lot. Check out HeavyMetalParkingLot.com and just appreciate rock and roll music. It's great stuff.
Live music. Thanks a lot.
And tell a friend.
Ryan and Thomas. All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
And we'll be right back in 10 minutes with the rest of the local flavor segment and everything like that to get you caught up on what's going on here in the area. Be back in 10.